The quest for resources is a quest for survival. Expeditions to find a mining spot are worth the highest risks, and success is well rewarded. Operators are rushing and set up fortifications in a hurry, in nervous and jerky movements, because they know that the hunters may already be the hunted. I started with 2 pieces of foam. I cut the second one in half and put one on top of the other to form the height of the cave. I give it the main shape and carved some stairs. I made one dolmen-shaped barricade and I'll make another one, and some simple rocks. For the barricade, I start with 4 pieces of foam. I found a bit smaller in height would look better. I carved it quickly and randomly to get a natural rock effect. And it's even better if your blade isn't too sharp for rocks, as we don't want very clean cuts. I use a cardboard base to make it stronger. And I insert a small metal rod to reinforce the connection between the different parts. I glue it with hot glue. It won't melt the foam if your gun isn't too hot, and you can turn it off to cool it down. Then I carve a recess to insert the actual barricades made of PVC foam. And it's time to give it a rough time. I use different tools that I have available, but you can experiment. Working the edges will really give that battered look. I insert some rods again just to make sure. And this will look good on its own. These are my 2 rocks that I will use as an entrance door. I'm going to put a removable bridge on it, and those wooden pieces will hold it. I use ice cream sticks for the frame and a metal grid for the walkway, and grid is going to be one of the main features of this terrain. I could have used less sticks, but my concern was to fully cover the edges of the grid, as it's metal and it's pointy and sharp. How do I know? Well, yes, I paid my tribute, and hopefully those who use the terrain won't have to. The thickness of the frame will also help me glue the shields later. At this point, I had this big block that I was unhappy with and decided I had to have some structures around it to hide the obvious rectangle shape. At the back, I will have this big pipe with the platform, with the pipe half immersed. Then, I carved the connection point at the back of the hill. I cut the bigger end of the pipe flat, hide the bottom of that bottle, and glue it to the platform before I make a custom base to close the pipe. For the right side of the cave, I want a sort of evacuation pipe, and hopefully it will give me the opportunity to make some kind of chemical liquid that flows out of it. I glue 2 plastic bottles together and I will decorate it with cardboard rings. The best gluing technique is to first hold and maintain it in place with no glue. Open one end, glue the extremity, make sure it's in place, and then glue the other end. The ring doesn't need glue on its whole length, and the pose is more accurate this way. I add a second layer of thinner rings for depth and volume on everything with a pipe shape. I make 2 short pillars and adjust them to have a nicely leveled platform. I had some mishap with the evacuation pipe. I wanted to have some pipes connecting the evacuation pipe to the platform, but I first picked a pipe that was too large for the platform. The drill is good to enlarge the hole when you rub it against the edges. But scissors are better to pierce the plastic first. That's the waste evacuation pipe, and I will make another platform on top of it. I have cardboard on the side and metal grate in the center. I want the pipe to be removable, but I don't want to have spare pieces moving around, so I glue the smaller pipes to the evacuation pipe. I measure the widths at the 2 extremities of the platform to have a nice rectangle, and prepare a receiving point for the stairs between the 2 platforms. I'm adding 4 pillars to the platform and the main grate, always covering the edges, this time with thinner cardboard. I press the glue stick in the gun instead of pulling the trigger so it flows faster. You don't want to give hot glue time to cool down. This is now a pretty strong platform and it feels quality heavy in hand. I add X-shaped beams which show the pipe behind, like the grid above. I hope this effect of transparency will really stand out in the final result. I just cut it out of cardboard and glue it with hot glue. I cut a hole on this big flat surface to add pipes and a lid on the side of the opening, so it's much more interesting. That's what I have for now. I'm going to take care of that big rectangle in a moment, before I add my last structure on the left of the rock. I wanted to break the obvious rectangle shape, so I thought of agglomerating the waste of foam from the carving to make some rocks. It makes the transition and also gives the sense that these very rocks were in fact the waste from the cave extracted by the operators. I give it a cardboard base each so that it makes a solid block that I can remove. In the meantime, I worked on the rocky texture of the cave by slicing horizontally with my blade and pulling out pieces to make the recesses, just like I saw on Eric Hobby Workshop's YouTube channel. I carved some rock shapes on the base itself to help it blend, and cut the cardboard base. And it can be used on its own as well. The final piece will be a structure providing energy to complement the waste evacuation pipe, high enough to add an elevated platform with a metal grid floor that enables us to see underneath. This time I build the frame fully out of cardboard. It makes the job and it's lighter. I prepare some more rings to decorate the containers. It's the same process as before. And I glue a straw to add more detail and add the connection point of the 2 ends of the rings. I mark spots to add pieces that will work as supporting pillars between the containers and the platform, but it will end up upside down, so I actually reverse the placement of the pieces, which won't affect the outcome anyway because I didn't glue the cans on the base yet. While I'm making the frame of the platform, I'm careful to cover the edges of the grid with cardboard so that blood won't be spilled. And because the grid is a bit flexible and can bend, I reinforce the structure. I use plain cardboard for the lateral parts of the platform. And reinforce it as I want to be able to handle it safely. I close the platform with the last bridge of metal grid. And carefully cover the edges. These cardboard pieces will also be handy to glue the protection shields in the future. That's the platform looking neat. And now is the time to glue the cans in place. I marked the spots with a crayon and added some pieces of cardboard at the bottom of the can to fill the gap and have a larger connection point with the base. I add these two pieces that will hold the platform on this side, and the small pillars on the other side will hold it leveled. That's about it for the main structures. Now I will add the details. I stick some soft adhesive grid and poured PVA glue to bond it strongly to the platform. I make some rivets about everywhere. Just like the rings around the pipes and containers, the more the merrier. It's a feature common to the different pieces and will blend everything together. I have all my rivets here. I use super glue to put them on. The best technique I've found, especially for the smaller rivets, is to hold the surface flat, put a dot of glue, put your rivet just next to it, but not on the dot of glue directly, and carefully push it sideways on the glue. I then make a signboard to decorate the cave. I just force it into the foam, it holds, but I glue it later after the paint job. I add little rocks to blend the floor of the caves with the walls, which are simply remains of foam. And a wire on the cave ceiling to bring some light inside. The plan is to add shields like this later, on most of the platform edges, but I will glue them after painting only. I add some more wires. Not only does it look good and blend everything together, but it gives me the chance to add bright popping colors on the said wires to bring contrast with the usually duller colors of the metallic structures. The building is finished, I keep the painting for the next video, subscribe to not miss it.